Welcome back everyone to Aussie Scrapper, and today I will be scrapping from a collection. It's the Cocoa Vanilla collection and it's called Love Always. These are some of the papers that come in the collection, and I chose Cocoa Vanilla because they are an Australian company and I love to support Australia. So here are some of their letters and bits and pieces that come with the collection. Some chipboard. And these are the embellishments. They're really cute, by the way. Some flare buttons, and these are the puffy stickers. This is the photo that I've decided to scrap. It's of my sister and I and my daughter, and I'm now just going to go through some papers to decide which ones I'm going to use for this photo. This is my background paper that I chose, and it's called Lovely Things from this collection. I just love those love hearts. I'm going to start by using some modelling paste and this Kaisercraft stencil. I'm sorry, but I don't recall the name of it. It might be called script, but please don't quote me on that. I'm really not sure. And I'm just doing this to add a bit of texture and a bit more interest to the page. And of course, because I must add mixed media to anything I do, just randomly adding it to the page wherever I see fit. No real reason, just wherever I feel like it, really. It's a quick blast with the heat gun to dry everything up, and I move on to my next stage. And I'm in love with that floral paper. It's called Bouquet from the Love Always collection. And I've gone back to my first paper, and because I want the bouquet paper to so I wanted to be able to see more of the bouquet paper, is what I'm trying to say, is I'm now using one of these really old rulers. Does anyone remember the tearing rulers? I'm starting to show my age here, but I found it in my stash and I'm just using it. And I don't want straight lines, so that's why it's sort of at an angle. And I think I'm going for a vintage feel, but that's not what the layout ends up looking like, but it turns out okay. I'm going to be using some water to moisten my paper, as I'm just trying to give it more of that old feel vintage look. So I'm just rolling it with my hands and tearing, not so much tearing it, but just rolling it. That's sort of ruffled look. I'm not sure what it's called. And I do this to all four sides. Now here I am trying to bring this paper to life. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, so I bring my photo in. And I start going through the other papers in the series just to see if I can match it with another paper. But I'm in love with that background paper and all those florals. So I cut off that strip, and there it is. It's called Bouquet for anyone that wants to get it in the Love Always collection from Cocoa Vanilla. And because I love it so much, I'm just gutting it out because I want to keep it and save it for another project. Or I actually fussy cut lots of those flowers out and use it on this layout, so it does get a good use. And I go in with my distress crayon, and this is called Hickory Smoke, and I'm just shading in the edges or distressing it, inking it. I wanted to add just a bit more contrast there, and that's all I'm doing. And I do that for all four sides, but I won't show you all four. There it is. I'm just nearly at the end. The magic of editing. And this is what it looks like so far. I just love that grey shading that the distress crayons have added to the edges. I'm just trimming my photo down. Now here I am making some banners for this layout, which don't actually make it to the final cut in the end. I changed my mind completely, and I did match that photo, and that matching doesn't stay either. It all changes somewhere along the line, which you'll see further down. So yeah, I should have really edited all this out because I didn't keep these banners, so I don't know why I've kept it here. And some fussy cutting of my favorite paper. I just love this paper. I know I've said it before. Now I'm just trimming down this other paper from the Love Always collection, and it is called Class Act, I believe. I'm just adhering it down. Now I did this because I think I needed to break up that heavy pattern with the grey Love Heart paper there. And I'm just gutting it because it's such a lovely shade of pink that I want to keep it for other projects. So then, of course, I now have to go in and tear some more of that Love Heart grey paper, and I do that to all four sides, and then I adhere it down. And that paper is called Lovely Things, I believe it was called. So here I go in with some Mr. Huey Silver Mist. I use this instead of the Distress Crayon that I used earlier, and I now adhere that down to my paper. And this is where I decide to mat the photo on some of that, more of that pink paper. And I'm trimming it down with my Perfect Layers ruler. And here I am just showing you the matting. There's that white matting. It's a thin layer of white matting and then the pink on top. And I'm going in here and I'm just trying to put this layer together, and I'm playing with the arrangement of all my embellishments and cutouts and everything else. Excuse me. Now, what you see here is not actually how this layout finishes. I changed my mind completely. For some reason, I didn't like it as it is now, and I'm not sure why, because now that I'm narrating, it looks quite good, but at the time, I just didn't like it. It just wasn't gelling for some reason, and you'll see in the end that it changes completely. And this is where everything changes. And I go through my scrap drawer and I find some different colors. I guess I'm trying to bring in more of those orangey pinkies that are in the bouquet floral paper right at the back there that I love. I'm trying to balance everything to that and bring more color in. So I finally decided that that's going to stick down there, and I'm using some gel medium, and this is the Dina Wakley's gel medium, just to protect the page, because I will be going in with some gelatos and watercolors and whatever else I might have done. I'm going to make these strips into banners very soon, as you'll see, and those cardboard pieces there, that one in my hand and the orange one, they're actually not from the collection. They're from my own personal stash, just bits and pieces that were left over, and I thought tied in nicely with this layout. I really don't know why I was so indecisive with this layout. It just took me for ages for it to come together. Yeah, I worked on it for a couple of days on and off, but in the end, I absolutely loved the end result. And you'll eventually see me, that orange cardboard, that wide one there, I will turn that into another banner. I just trim it down and make it a banner as well. And that actually makes it onto the layout. There's a lot of things that I did on this layout that didn't make it on, like that orange doily that's been sitting there for a while. That does not make it onto this layout at all. And that together, that's a chipboard from the collection as well. It's from the chipboard collection. And I'm now going in and I'm going to do the packaging technique, and I added a bit of gelato. I didn't like the color, I thought it was too light. And then I go in with my Distress inks, and the color I'm using is called Coral Reef, I believe. I'm sorry, the actual color is called Abandoned Coral. So I started off the packaging technique. That didn't work for me. I moved on to the, what was that? A glass mat for my stamps. And then I use a brush, and then I go and do my fingers. I was all over the place with this, and I just worked on it and worked on it till I finally was happy with the result that I got. I'm using my heat gun there just to move the color a bit, and I also dab it, I believe. Oh, there it is with the dabbing. Either with a tissue or a baby wipe. I'm not sure what I used. So yeah, you'll see me fiddle around with this for quite a while, but in the end, I was happy with the results. I just tried all different techniques till I was happy. I even add some sprays, and this color that I used was the Kaisercraft Iridescent spray ink, and the color was called orange. And there it is. I'm in with the spray, and I just dab it with my baby wipe or tissue, and I keep doing this till I'm happy with the color that I achieve. You'll soon see the fussy cut flowers that from the original paper that started off this layout that I fell in love with, and I absolutely love the way they turned out fussy cut. There they are. It was a bit of time consuming, but it's really worth the effort. It just brings the whole layout together. And that's some lace from my stash that I found, and I'm just going to use it there. And then that's a sticker from the collection. It's the stickers collection, and that another sticker from the same collection, and I will be using that to do my journaling. I made this title Sisters on my silhouette machine, and because I didn't have any brown markers that I liked, I'm using some of the what's it called, the Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stain in the color Vintage Photo, and that's only because I don't like all those white edges showing through, so I just outline it like I would with a marker, but in this case I'm using a brush to get rid of those stark white lines and add a bit of highlight. Now I won't bore you with all of this, I'm just going to jump straight to the end. I wanted to add a bit of glitter to this title, so I'm using some Bow Bunny glitter paste. I absolutely love the added sparkle that it gives to it. I'm just adding some gesso with a dry brush because I find the colour, since I've added the title, is a bit too bright for my liking. And I will start to glue everything down soon. I'll start off with the lace, and I'm just using some heavy gel medium I should say. My brain's not working today, to adhere the lace down. There are my favourite flowers, all fussy cut. And those chipboards are from the Love Always collection. It says together, and the other one says for forever and always. And I'm going to attach my title just using some foam tape. And yes, this layout's finally coming together. I'm just spraying some more of the Kaisercraft orange iridescent spray here, and I decided that that border around the love heart paper just needed an extra bit of something. So I'm adding with the paintbrush, I'm just adding some of that spray in, and I love the effect that that had. Um, just added some more of the orange to that otherwise grey paper. And I do that to all four sides, but I'm not going to bore you with all of it. I'm just going to cut to the end. I will also be adding some of that, spray ink to the stenciling that I did earlier on at the start of this layer. And as you can see, I just use my brush to add it on, and then I rub it in with my finger. And I really like the subtle orange that it added to the paper. It just ties in the whole layout together. Now I forgot to ink the edges of my banners, so I will be going in with the Distress Spray Stain in Vintage Photo and adding it on with a paintbrush, and I believe I rub it with my fingers just to give it a bit more of that distressed look. Yes, I don't know why I forgot to do that, but anyway, I've made it harder for myself doing it this way, but I had to do it. I'm doing a lot of cosmetic surgery to this layout. I've decided that all those papers are now too bright or in your face, so I want to tone them down, and I'm just doing it by adding a bit of gesso with a dry brush, as I did before. And I quite like the effect that that has. It just ties everything in neatly together. It's a personal preference. You don't have to do this, but yes, I decided to do it, and I'm really happy with it. You will soon see me go in with my watercolor, and I add some black splatters to this layout. There it is, nothing's complete without a few splatters. And then I do a big blob, and yeah, I pick it up, but I'm not quite happy with it, so I go in with my gesso. I'm just using my finger to dry gesso it, and I actually like the dreamy effect that it all causes. And because I've added the dry gesso to all the other bits and pieces, it just makes this layout look a bit dreamy. I quite actually like that whole effect. So that was just by accident. And of course then I have to add more of the orange spray, iridescent spray to the stenciling part. Anyway, a lot of fiddling, but I was really happy with it in the end. I will be adding some Ranger's glossy accent to the flowers. That's what I'm doing now, and you can't really see it on camera, but it just gives it like a 3D effect, a glossy 3D effect to the flowers. And in real life, it looks really, really good. I do try to get a close-up of it, but it doesn't really do it any justice. And some more softening of the page with the dry gesso. And more splatters. I've gone splatter happy here. Finally, this layout is complete. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to keep it as short as possible. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you did. That is, if you do like the videos and you want to see more of them. And once again, thank you so much to everyone.